Check. We are good. Welcome to JBadge Raps episode 5. Another unplanned episode. This is not what episode 5 was supposed to be, but you know, when I come across things and I get the urge, why not come talk about it? So yeah, today's episode is actually going to be a special reaction episode to our good friend right here, DJ Akademiks. Now, I am not here to slander DJ Akademiks. DJ Akademiks' position is solidified in media as a hip-hop journalist, whatever you want to call him. He made it there, he got there, he worked hard for it. Cool. Now, with that being said, DJ Akademiks' voice carries a lot of weight. It's a very important voice, whether you like him or not, whether how you feel about him or not. DJ Akademiks has an important voice inside hip-hop. And when I say important voice, I mean simply that a lot of people listen to DJ Akademiks. He has a lot of people that listen to him. He has a lot of people that go to him for information. So it's so important that all the information that he gives is 100% factual. And that's what we're here to talk about today. One of my biggest problems with DJ Akademiks, especially over the last year since the Kendrick and Drake beef, and why a lot of people say that he's compromised. But the issue that I really have with him is that he will strategically not tell the whole truth. That makes sense, you guys. I just freestyled that because I don't want to come on here and just say DJ Akademiks spreads misinformation, because he doesn't. He says a lot of factual stuff, but he will purposely not say certain stuff. And I don't know if that's to fit a narrative. I don't know if that's because he's really picking sides or whatever it may be. Not my business. And what he has done this most with over the last year is just the whole conversation around bots. And that's what we're going to be talking about today, you guys. I already wanted to do an episode about bots inside the music industry in general, but hey, why not just make it a DJ Akademiks response since this video came across my timeline? So yeah, we're going to be reacting to this video of DJ Akademiks talking about 21 Savage not using bots pretty much. And yeah, I don't know, bro. This came across my timeline the other night, and everything that I heard just in the first 2 minutes was making my head hurt, just because Akademiks is too smart and he knows too much to act the way he does sometimes. And I know he knows a lot, and I know he knows a lot about the industry and has insiders. So when he acts like he doesn't have information that I know that he has, because I have it as an artist, and I'm not even a big artist, because a lot of us artists, we know a lot, but we don't say anything because we have no power. So actually in this video, I'm going to be exposing something that really puts me at risk, but honestly, I'm going to leave it for the video. I'm talking too much. I already have everything written out, so let me just stop and let's just get to it, man. So let's hear what Akademiks has to say.
Funny. And this is why I keep saying, you see why hip-hop is in this low is because of the goddamn K-bots. And I know somebody going to say, because I see the responses. I've been looking at Twitter a little bit more and more now. They're going to be like, what do Kendrick got to do with this? I'm going to tell you why. Number one, there's a coalition of fans that's hoping Savage fails. Why? Because Savage is one of the biggest supporters of Drake. Those coalition of fans happen to be K-bots. They're just sitting there on Twitter hoping to see something that makes Savage look bad, that hopefully they could capitalize on it and say, yo, see, like, by the way, Drake fans do this too. I'm not picking sides, okay? Obviously, I like Drake way more as an artist, but I'm not picking sides and analyzing this one particular thing. There's a bunch of fans, and I would say most of them are like K-bots, that they want to see Savage not do too good. Now, with that in mind, I think people don't listen to everything I say, which I think they should. The current thing about his sales that people keep saying bots, y'all are wrong. I'm not picking up for him because he's my friend. Even if he's my friend and it looked like there was some weird activity with bots, I would just say, oh yeah, it looked like he bought it. Pure sales. Bots are not pure sales. Bots influence streams. I just told you, his streaming activity is pretty normal. So let's say it once again for the slow ones in the back.
All right, I told myself I was going to try to stop as little as possible early on, but I have to stop him here because this is an example of what I was just saying. Akademiks has too much knowledge and he knows too much, and he's using his knowledge to only tell half the truth, because what he's saying is right, but it's not 100% right, especially not with the example he used, which was with Kendrick Lamar. Let me explain what I mean by that. What he's saying is very true for your average B or C tier artist. When they drop, you'll see a spike in the numbers because most likely the bots are going crazy, and then you'll see a massive dip after 2 or 3 weeks. That's true. but you cannot use that same standard to compare to somebody like Kendrick Lamar. And obviously you're talking about the period of time where he was dropping the diss songs. But let me take this off Kendrick real quick before they think I'm just some Kendrick stan and put this back on 21 Savage, because Akademiks is trying to use this knowledge, and this is my problem with Akademiks. He's using this knowledge he knows about how bots work to say that 21 Savage didn't have bots, which just isn't true. And by the way, in no way at all is that 21 Savage's fault, just like it's no other artist's fault that they have bots streaming their music. It's uncontrollable at this point, which is really what we're going to get to, deep dive into this video. I'm really trying to hold it back right now, but I had to just respond to this one part just to show an example of Akademiks using his knowledge to kind of tell half the truth, but not the whole thing, because Akademiks knows that 21 Savage had bots, because bots are unavoidable. So I'm gonna just let him keep cooking, and then yeah, we'll get back to it.
A case of bottom would be is when Kendrick, and I'm just using him as an example. I'm not saying he's the only person who bots, but if you see a wild number of streams, whether first week or first month, and then precipitously drops off, that's usually an indication that those initial streams or that period of streaming is not regular.
And see, this is just my problem with Akademiks hyper focusing on Kendrick as if Kendrick was the first artist to use bots when he knows that's not true. He does clean it up after by saying that it's not Kendrick Lamar bot and it's not 21 Savage themselves going to bot. It's the labels, it's the digital team, the marketing team, whatever it may be. So I guess my real issue with that is Akademiks will lead with like insinuation and division first, which is kind of what you're going to see what I'm talking about through this video. It leads with that, knowing that the casual listener is just going to run with the narrative rather than paying attention to the facts that he just dropped right after that, which is the important part and which is what we should be hyper focusing on. Akademiks needs to stop hyper focusing on artists. I wish that somebody with the voice of Akademiks would use his voice to hyper focus on the people who are doing the buying, which is the labels, which is the platforms themselves, which is the people who are scamming smaller artists, which is what we're going to get to in this video. But
most charts with streaming and sales goes like this. And when people off the song, it goes like this. Anytime you're watching, listen, for even do crypto trading or whatever, they analyze charts too. A lot of that also is math. You understand the rise or the average rise of a line chart that is kind of showing you, okay, cool, this is kind of how this album should go week over week or day over day in terms of streams or whatever. Once again, for the slow ones in the back, there is no evidence of bot. Let me say it once again. There is no evidence of bot. Now, I never said there was no evidence of manipulation. I said there was possible manipulation because midweek there was starting to be so let me explain how these things work. And this is
all right, again, he's not really wrong here. Both things he's saying can be true. In fact, even pure album sales can be manipulated, but hey, I'm not going to say too much. But Akademiks definitely knows that, so that's what I'm saying. Why is he acting like it has to be one or the other here when it can very well be both and even something else? He keeps saying this isn't a case of bots when bots are just unavoidable and are just, if as soon as music went digital, it opened itself up to bots. So like when he keeps saying like this isn't a case of him having botted streams or whatever, it's just not true. But off Akademiks real quick, because him even having to explain this is the real problem, because fans have become so obsessed with just the term bots since the Kendrick and Drake beef last year, and I'm not sure why. Bots have literally been around since 2015, you guys. Hip-hop fandom has just gotten to this weird place where it's less about the music than ever before. One of the worst outcomes of the Drake and Kendrick battle is that the casual fans were exposed to the world of bots. Now it's to a point where you can't even see a mainstream artist do decent numbers without somebody saying that they're botting. Since the Kendrick and Drake beef, everyone acts like botting on a literal streaming platform is some type of brand new phenomenon. Because of that, artists and fans are now hyper focused on numbers instead of the actual music itself. You're either going to get clowned for your low numbers or you're going to do good numbers and people are going to be blaming you for having bots. You can't win. So I'm just going to say this plain and simple right now. Everybody in the music industry, from small artists to big artists, independent artists, whatever you may be, if you have some type of motion on these streaming platforms, especially top artists though, has bots. Not by choice, but by force. Like I said earlier, I told y'all we was going to get into it. Bots are part of the machine that pushes content and makes platforms like Spotify money. Streaming farms have always been a well-known tool labels use to boost artists, and this has been going on for over a decade. But let's remove record labels and the streaming farms from the equation entirely and pretend that we live in a perfect world where no record labels are botting, no artists are botting, and everyone is just playing fair, even though labels would never admit to botting anyway. Even in a perfect world where the labels themselves or people inside the industry themselves weren't utilizing this to capitalize, everybody was playing fair. Once music entered a digital space and the streaming era began, it opened the door for people in tech to capitalize and manipulate the system. So even if the labels or the artists or whatever you want to say weren't botting themselves, there would still be these tech geniuses sitting inside of a room figuring out how to exploit these streaming platforms for profit. So you're telling me that the labels aren't going to be the ones to capitalize off of that if that's already going to be a thing anyway once music entered the digital era? Think about it. This is why I say that bots are unavoidable, and this is my issue with DJ Akademiks even making it sound like 21 Savage just completely had no bot activity when it came to streaming on his project or album sales, whatever you want to say. Because DJ Akademiks knows that any artist with some motion or a name, especially with the one as big as 21 Savage, by default is gonna have bot activity on their album. Now, I know I probably sound like a broken record, but I have to make that clear as possible. I'm not coming on this video saying he has bots, he doesn't have bots. No, bots are a problem that are way bigger than the artist. So really my problem with Akademiks is that he makes it about the artist too much and not enough about the platforms or the people who are actually doing the damage with bots. Now, for the casual listener out there who just does not believe me, I'm going to use myself as an example. Because it's a lot of bot talk going around right now, but no artist is vulnerable enough to show them what is really going on their Spotify for Artists platform, but I am going to show you guys. Now, I'm just a completely independent artist from a small city. I probably flow between 5 to 10K monthly listeners. I got some features with some big artists, and that kind of put me inside of Spotify's algorithm for the last 4 or 5 years now, I say. But last year, I did a song featuring Lil Russell. Because this song features somebody with a name as big as Lil Russell, it hit the algorithm on Spotify a lot harder than my other songs do. Because that's just how these platforms work, like Spotify and Apple Music. Bots aside, it's really about artists getting inside the algorithm because people just listen to music different now. It's kind of weird because I grew up like listening to full albums and stuff, and you just start to see less and less people listen to albums or even make their own playlists. They kind of just put on these algorithmic playlists made by Spotify, made by YouTube, made by Apple Music, kind of cater to you. So a goal for most independent artists, and if you don't know this, you probably should know this, is to get inside that algorithm. So at least your album or your project, whatever you drop, has more of a chance of being listened to by more people because your song could come up on somebody's algorithmic playlist. They're just listening to music and they go like, who is this? Click your profile and now they might listen to your album, as opposed to just dropping your album and expecting people to just find it. That's just not how it works. You got to get in the algorithm. But I'll make another video on that, on how to get into the algorithm. Let's get back to it. So this song that I dropped with Lil Russell, like I said, hit the algorithm pretty hard. It's getting a lot of motion within Spotify's algorithmic playlist, the ones that are generated by themselves, Spotify Radio and stuff like that. Of course, I'm happy because that just means a bigger payday for me is coming next month. But what they don't tell you is when you have a song hit the algorithm this way, now there's a bigger chance that the song is going to be picked up by an artificial playlist curator who's most likely just having a computer add songs that come up on Spotify's algorithmic playlist to curate their own playlist to replicate it and sell slots to their playlist to smaller artists. That's the game, you guys. The people who we need to be looking at and pointing at and talking about when we have these discussions about bots, we're not supposed to be blaming the artists. We're not supposed to be blaming Kendrick. We're not supposed to be blaming 21 Savage. We're not even supposed to be blaming Drake. Blame should only be on the platforms themselves, the record labels, and these playlist curators. This is exactly what happened on my song with Lil Russell. It got picked up by what looked like a huge playlist, but when I went to the source of streams on my Spotify for Artists, the plays were from places like Indonesia, as you can see here. Now, at first, I was panicking and ready to reach out to my music distributor and say, hey, this playlist with my song looks suspect, but I stopped and took a look at the actual playlist and the other songs on it. Guess what I saw? Pretty much every major song from every major artist you could think of had multiple songs on this playlist, as you could see right here. So instead of reaching out to my distributor and shedding light on it, I simply screenshotted it and saved it in case I ever get penalized. I could say, hey, if I'm being punished for this, then what about all these other big artists who are under major record labels who benefited off the same playlist? My point in saying all this is my song just happened to get put on this one playlist that's generating a significant amount of suspect streams. So let's multiply that by the thousands of more playlist curators there are. Imagine just 1,000. Let's just use 1,000 for example, because I promise you it's way more. Just imagine 1,000 more playlists just like this, 1,000 more curators who are doing this exact same thing. The main thing that these playlists need to look official are the biggest songs from the biggest artists in the world, because how else are you going to look official? To scam the smaller artists for them to pay for your playlist. Everybody is hustling everybody. Now, we are about to get back to this video, but I just want you guys to think about everything I just said and showed you as you're watching, just so you can see why I'm saying that he kind of spreads misinformation. Just refuse to believe somebody like Akademiks, who's been around music long enough now to be as misinformed as he acts when it comes to the subject of bots in general. Now, I can't be mad at the casual listeners who are reacting the way that they are over the last year or two just about bots, as more information is coming out there, especially since the beef. But I can be upset with Akademiks because he kind of fuels the fire instead of telling the whole truth. I don't hear Akademiks enough talking about the platforms. I don't hear Akademiks enough talking about the playlist business. I will say Akademiks will call out the record labels, but also even with the bot thing, he's kind of acting like TDE is the first record label to use bots, and he just knows that's not true. You don't got to be deep in the industry to know that pretty much everybody has bots. I'm just a small independent artist and just showed you myself how these bots are pretty much unavoidable, especially if you are an artist like myself with motion on these platforms. You're constantly inside the algorithm. At some point, you're going to be exposed to bots by force, not choice. It's not just some small number of bots I'm talking about here, because I did show you an example on a smaller scale. Just imagine my example just on a larger scale, but thousands of playlists. When you add up how much curators are capitalizing off botted playlisting, we're talking about an astronomical amount of fake streams just being generated on a regular basis on platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, and anywhere else that music is streamed. It's unavoidable. So if you really care about music, you really care about these artists that you listen to, understand that the issue is the platforms for allowing botting to be such a normal thing. I really can't even put it all on the playlist curators because the platforms let them do this. They let them do this because they care about one thing, and that's generating income, ad money, and subscriptions. They don't care if the plays are fake as long as everyone is happy and they are paid. So when Akademiks talks about the Kendrick TDE having bots and just acts like they're the first people to have bots in the music industry over the last year, as if his favorite artist Drake didn't benefit from bots for the last 10 years and still does, that's where I get kind of irritated with Akademiks, because he knows that the bots don't matter. He knows that the bots were coming during the beef for both sides. You yourself right now could go buy bots for your favorite artist right now, and it's very cheap. You could literally go do it. And it's not going to affect them because, again, that's also why they can't really punish artists for having these bots, because anybody can go buy these bots. It's not just the record labels. And honestly, I think that's one thing that people underestimated a lot last year. I didn't hear enough conversations about that during the Kendrick and Drake beef. These are two of the biggest artists in the world with cult-like fan bases. Don't underestimate their fans. Don't think that fans were not botting and playing with the numbers too. So even before we get to the record labels, because we already know the record labels are botting. Like if you're under a label and you're a major artist, your record label is getting you bots. We have Young Thug on a jail call pretty much admitting to buying bots. He bought bots for Gunner, the same bots that he bought for himself, because it shoots you up in the algorithm. So now your album does better numbers on the sales. It's a game, bro. Honestly, the overall reason I'm even making this video is less about Akademiks and more on just educating the casual listener in general. Since they want to be obsessed with bots, let me educate you guys on what's really going on here with bots so you guys can have a better understanding, because I see a lot of artists taking the slander for bots when it's really not on them, you guys. It's on the music platforms that are really just tech companies who do not care how their money is generated. You can't trust any platform that's willing to pay artists a fraction of a penny for their art. So you think that they value their platform enough to do something about bots if it's making them money? You think that they couldn't if they wanted to? They could. They don't want to because the advertisers are paid and the casual listeners are happy.
Sales. Bots are not pure sales. Bots influence streams. I just told you, his streaming activity is pretty normal. So let's say it once again for the slow ones in the back.
And that's what I mean right there, because what does your streaming activity being pretty normal mean if pretty normal already includes bots because the platform has bots by default?
Not a situation of botting. If it was botting, it would be astronomic inflated streams that we would see if Spotify or Apple Music or Pandora catches. That's not what it is. Let me say.
Nope, and that's the thing. These platforms, they're not trying to catch it. They're not trying to catch bot streams.
Time for the slow ones in the back. It's not because he's my friend. It's because I know how to fucking read. And I analyze charts like most people that usually report these stuff. And by the way, we posted this. I'm going to tell you why I deleted it. Not because Savage is my friend. I'm going to tell you everything. But we need to get it right for the slow ones in the back. This is not a case of botting. What a case of botting would be is when Kendrick, and I'm just using him as an example. I'm not saying he's the only person who bots. But if you see a wild number of streams, whether first week or first month, and then precipitously drops off, that's usually an indication that those initial streams or that period of streaming is not regular. Charts with streaming and sales goes like this. And when people off the song, it goes like this. Anytime you're watching, listen, for the people who...
See, that just wouldn't be true for a song like Not Like Us. Let's just use that for example. A song like Not Like Us can go up because it went up so much, whether you want to say it's because of bots, but also because it was the biggest diss song of last year. So it's going to go up. So the drop now just looks like a bigger drop because of how up it went. So that's why you can't really use Kendrick as an example, because the drop is going to look worse on a song like Not Like Us or somebody who just streams that big in general. The drop's going to look big like that with a Drake song, or when Drake drops his album, it's going to be a drop like that. But so you can't use those drops, especially with artists to that magnitude, because there is going to be that big drop because they're dropping big songs. They're starting way up here. They're starting way up here by default. So of course it's going to go down.
Even do crypto trading or whatever, so they analyze charts too. A lot of that also is math. You understand the rise or the average rise of a line chart that is kind of showing you, okay, cool, this is kind of how this album should go week over week or day over day in terms of streams or whatever. Once again, for the slow ones in the back, there is no evidence of...
You can't use that comparison, bro. You can't compare reading the stock market to reading streams. It's just, it doesn't work. It's way too sporadic. Streaming and bots are just way too sporadic.
Bot. Let me say it once again. There is no evidence of bot. Now, I never said there was no evidence of manipulation. I said there was possible manipulation because midweek there was starting to be so let me explain how these things work. And this is why I wish Billboard would get rid of it, but you can't get rid of it because there is no central store. Everybody want to do their bundles their own way. Everybody want to have their own special thing. And there's not one vendor that could serve every artist, every one of their needs, and all three record labels and all the artists will agree with. So Billboard allows artists to have their own digital store.
I'm going to let him say what he's saying. I don't really have nothing to say to this because this is kind of off streams and botting. This is just more about how to manipulate album sales pretty much by selling stuff from a digital store, but it counts as a sale because it's all from the same. He'll explain it way better than I could, but yeah, but even saying that 21 Savage may have benefited off this, but it's not a case of Biden. Like, Akademiks, you know damn well that it could be both. Stop it, bro.
Store. Their digital store could be, let's say if it was Lil Ak, lilac.com. And you could go buy Blue's Clues over there. Now, when you buy Blue's Clues over there, I have the data. Billboard can't hack into my website. They can't say, oh, no, that's what's going on. Now, granted, you have to turn the data over. They do have some ways to proofread the data you're given. But like anything, what's the easiest and probably most manipulative part is if you're saying, you ever been in school when niggas say go check your own, when a teacher says grade yourself or check your own homework? Come on. You trying to change something while you're grading it if you can? It is what it is. I've told you about this finesse a long time ago. Travis Scott did it. This doesn't fit that criteria. This post, because I see people on the uneducated way keep saying botting. And there's a specific thing for botting. This doesn't fit that criteria.
There is no criteria, Ak. There's no criteria for botting. People can say that there's bots on this. It's annoying that people are going to say that everything is bots now. I guess that's what the problem is, and why I made the video and just said everything I had to say is because, like, once we get past the fact that bots are unavoidable, then we could get fans to stop hyper-focusing on these numbers and just calling everybody out for bots. Because at the end of the day, who cares, bro? Who cares? It's not the artist's fault. It's not really even the label's fault. The label's got to play game too. The bots are going to be there regardless.
At this moment, subject to change, subject to new information, I'm telling you at this moment. If it looks like the label may have tried to buy 20, 30K of sales. They didn't really do bundles, so it had to be just regular purchases, which means whatever his digital store is, and they have rules about that. You go to the digital store, you buy a Savage album. Now, he supposedly had posted something up. He had posted something up with a swipe up link for a website. Did 50,000 people go there to buy that? I don't know. And I'm being very honest. If you were to tell me, well, the labels try to buy some records to get the sales up, I wouldn't be that surprised.
Okay, yeah, he cleaned it up. That's pretty much what I was saying earlier, that the album sales could be manipulated too. Just like before streaming, labels could manipulate album sales just by going to bulk and buy the album. These things have just been around forever in the music industry, bro. There's always going to be a way to get over. It's always going to be a way to manipulate. I'm not going to lie, I do like Ak defending 21 Savage here. At least he's like making it clear, like it's not 21 Savage buying, it's not 21 Savage doing the manipulating, it's the record label. My problem with Ak is, in this video, is pretty much he just tried to straight up say that 21 Savage just didn't have bots on his album, and 21 Savage is one of the bigger rap artists in the world. So yes, there is a case of bot in Akademiks, just like there's a case of bot with everybody else.
That's what this data actually suggests if it's real. So, once again, I gotta keep making it because there's some slow motherfuckers around here. For the people in the back, there is no evidence of botting. There's evidence of manipulation from maybe on a label level, purchasing records. Okay? This isn't a bundle situation because there was no bundle. So it looked like, remember when 6ix9ine?
Like, Ak, you're telling me that a record label is, yes, a record label will buy songs, but you're telling me that same record label isn't gonna have artificial streams. They're not gonna have some sort of streaming farm. They're not gonna have something. But even if they don't, I showed you guys earlier, it's unavoidable because at some point one of these big playlist curators who's selling slots to smaller artists, who is just capitalizing off of smaller artists and selling promotion to them, 1,000 of those playlists already picked up the biggest song off 21 Savage's album, and that's also contributing to the numbers, which is why I saying this is a case of no bots is just unrealistic.
I said a label could buy number one. You just take out them credit cards and whatever. Yes, they have ways to circumvent the original vetting process. Obviously, they've made this vetting process harder. They said that one credit card could only buy, like they change the rules all the time. Like could buy, I think, maybe 1 or 2 albums, and they said one user could only, like they limit everything now. So when you turn in the data, even from your own digital store, you have to show proof that there was, for 50,000 sales, that there was at least 25,000 or maybe 20,000 credit cards that were used. You can't just use 3 or 4. So it's much more difficult, but obviously, where there's a will, there's a way. Labels still can make it happen. So, one last time, and then I'm going to get to the next part. There is no proof of botting. Not with this particular project. Not yet. Not right now. Okay. Around 37,000 pure sales were filtered. This is where I'm going to tell you why I deleted my post. I currently have followed up with Luminate, and Luminate is what used to be called Nielsen. I've sent a press request to them, and I'm following up with them because I can't verify this. And I'm not saying they're lying. So I want to be very clear, because I understand I get upset when people challenge my credibility without them having proof of me not being actually accurate. So I'm just questioning it. So I had heard the same thing, that there was a bunch of sales that came through. Now, the reason why I'm skeptical, or I just want to get a source on the 37,000, is that 25,000 sales did go through.
All right, yeah, it seems like he's focusing more on the sales thing. Again, getting away from the actual problem, which is bots, because I think that bots are a way bigger problem overall. Bots are way more of a problem overall for just smaller artists and artists in general than what he's talking about and just the album sales and stuff. Record labels are going to do that. It's whatever. Bots are the problem for smaller artists, and that's what I wish that Akademiks focus more on, instead of just writing it off and completely saying that somebody like 21 Savage didn't have bots, because it creates a narrative that 21 Savage just isn't botting, but somebody else might be botting who's just as big as 21 Savage.